There's no more important story I can bring you today, guys, that we can talk about than the fact that it is Friday. You got a weekend on your hands. Or if you're just watching or listening to this replay later on, you're like, that's my weekend, or next week, or whatever. I just appreciate you being here so much. Likes, follows, shares, even the audio download podcast, all that good stuff. Appreciate you. And also, put your notifications on if you are one of my ex-OGs, one of my ex-followers, so you know when we're going live or there's something getting posted. So anyway, I appreciate you as always. A lot to talk about today. Now, far be it from me to pour water on a good conspiracy theory, but I have to on this one. John Fetterman, Senator John Fetterman, first of all, we need to protect this guy at all costs. I think he might be the only Democrat politician, I mean this, that has any common sense. And he seems to be a pretty solid guy. But he's like the old traditional kind of Democrat. We agree to disagree, whatever. Like, they're few and far between. Well, he had a fall, but he's going to be okay. And I know the conspiracy theory, I thought it too, was that, oh my God, they're trying to kill him. I thought it too. That's not the case. He just had a fall, but he's okay. So that's the good news there. Bad day, bad day for the Antifa scumbags. You know, the brown shirts of the Democrat Party that cause violence, and they're funded, and their funding is about to be cut. Major announcement for the White House yesterday. We'll talk about that as well. And the best story of the year so far that we're going to wrap up the week with. I got a new one. My favorite story of 2025 is, as it turns out, the most evil dictator probably humanity has ever created, as it turns out, had a little tiny penis, according to studies. Anyway, let's get right to it. All right, John Fetterman had a fall. He's going to be okay. This was the breaking news story as of yesterday. And like I said in the introduction, we got to protect this guy at all costs.
From Senator Fetterman's team, during an early walk, he sustained a fall near his home. Out of an abundance of caution, he was transported to a hospital. Upon evaluation, it was established he had a ventricular fibrillation flare-up that led to him feeling lightheaded, falling to the ground, and hitting his face with minor injuries. Senator Fetterman, always in good spirits, always an optimist, quipped to his team, "If you thought my face looked bad before, wait until you see it now." And then he thanked the EMTs. Our prayers to Senator Fetterman. America reports.
Like I said, we got to protect that guy at all costs. He may be the only common sense Democrat that actually exists right now. Seems to be a good guy. He had the cojones to stand up against his own party. First one to do it, by the way, to vote to reopen the government because he knew his people across the country were getting hurt. Well, it turns out it was a fall. Now, I thought the same thing. So my job is I say things out loud that you're thinking. And if you were aware of this story, maybe you're into news. You got the breaking news story yesterday. It happened like early afternoon that he fell. Don't feel bad, and know you're not alone if you had the same thought that I did, because it did run through my head. Didn't say it, but we all thought it. It was just about 24 hours ago. I was sitting right here in this same bar stool telling you guys, look, he's public enemy number one for the Democrats. They are livid at him. They hate him. And we know what they're capable of because he broke party lines and he was the one pushing for common sense. And so they hate him. So when all of a sudden, a couple of hours later, we find out that he was actually, he fell, and he's going to be okay, but he fell. Don't feel bad and understand you weren't the only one who had that thought. Oh my God, they're trying to kill him. But that's not the case. Thank God. That didn't happen. He confirmed that himself. He just had what did they say? A ventricular fibrillation issue. So, he's a big guy. He suffers through that. He's had the health issues before. He's going to be okay, and that's good. We need to protect that guy. Also, there's this. I have a lot of guilt when it comes to John Fetterman. I got to tell you, this goes back to a little bit on the podcast, but mostly back on radio days, because right after the election, when he was elected senator, you may not remember this, but I sure do, because I feel terrible about it. And shame on me for saying this. You remember at the time, he's also a stroke recovery person. He had a major stroke. You might remember during the election, he literally could not put sentences together. The words were all jumbled as he was recovering. That literally, and at the time, a lot of other people were on the air saying, oh, the Democrats will literally elect anyone. This guy's brain doesn't work. Now he's a senator for 6 years from Pennsylvania. What are they thinking? Well, let me tell you something. Shame on me, maybe you too, but a lot of us, for not believing him when he said, they're telling me I'm going to recover from this. I'm okay. I'm going to be all right. And as it turns out, He is the one that thinks the most clearly of his entire party over there. Isn't that amazing? So that's why I have guilt over that, because I feel terrible of what I said at the time. I was just shocked that he was like the condition he was in. But now look at him. Now listen to him. It's amazing. But we need to protect him. But as luck would have it, or lack of luck there is, shortly before the fall that happened yesterday, he did an interview. It was a podcast interview with Katie Couric. Remember Katie Couric? Oh, my God. Well, she does some kind of I don't know what she's on, some kind of a podcast or something, and she interviewed John Fetterman. It's another reason why I really like and admire this guy. You know, he's kind of like the traditional old-school Democrat you could disagree with on policy, but still, you knew he had the best interest at heart for the country and his fellow people and the people he represents. Listen to this. It's a little long. You have to listen to the line of questioning Katie Couric put him through as she tried time and time again for him to disparage Charlie Kirk. She tried every possible angle she could, and he wasn't having it. She almost, this is how bad it was, tried to get him to greenlight political violence. This guy wasn't having it. This is how it went.
Do you think that flags should have been flown at half staff? Do you think his body should have been flown on Air Force Two? Do you think he should have posthumously be given the Presidential Medal of Freedom? I think some people felt that that was perhaps over the top in terms of mourning someone like Charlie Kirk. How did you feel about that?
I'd say that was his choice and his prerogative, and that was really entirely up to him.
Did you have any issues now in hindsight over some of the things that Charlie Kirk said and some of the rhetoric he used during his life?
I didn't agree with much of it. I didn't closely follow his specific kinds of views, but I did.
I'm sure you learned about them after his death, though.
No, I haven't done a deep dive on it. You know, we've all seen that terrible video. Perhaps if you've seen the actual video, I have. And it's like appalling. And that's part of the political violence. And from what.
Good for him. And God, what a ghoul she is. Oh my God. I'm not just talking about her monotone voice. Just a ghoul. But remember back in the day, this is why I love this particular interview, though. It shows us so much. His character, but also her. Remember when she was the anchor along with Matt Lauer of the Today Show for a long time? And we were told it's the gold standard. It's the gold standard of media personalities, of journalism. We were spoon-fed that for decades, that's what it was. That's what she really is. That's what tried for. This went on. I wouldn't do that to you. Make you listen to that voice for that long and that line of questioning. This went on for minutes on end of her trying question after question after question of him trying to disparage Charlie Kirk. Why? Because he dared say things and open up debate that people disagree with. Oh, that crime. She tried time after time after, and he wasn't having it. Good for him. It shows you a couple of different things. Like I said, his character, but also that was the quote-unquote journalism we were fed for decades that we don't have to listen to anymore. She's a ghoul. God almighty. Anyway, good for John Fetterman. I'm glad he's going to be okay. But no, they didn't try to push him down the stairs. That did not happen. He's going to be okay. That's a good thing. We got to protect him. All right, yesterday, another big story. It was a bad day for the Antifa scumbags. You know, the violent wing of the Democrat Party that they continue to deny exists. Remember? You know, but all kinds of politicians still saying it. Or can they say it anymore now? Because Antifa has been designated as first a domestic terror organization, and now the breaking news is a foreign terrorist organization. This means they can go after their funding. Here's the story. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who has lots of different jobs these days. Side note, is he the most improved player? He's been great. Anyway, Rubio designated Antifa a foreign terrorist organization yesterday, an escalation above the current domestic designation. It's going to surge the government's ability to choke the funding source and end their activities. Now, just to give you an idea of how long they've been working on this, this was, October 9th. I think this was just last month. This, ironically enough, was during the meeting about Antifa and domestic and violence and political violence. This was the meeting during which Rubio walked into the room. Remember, and he whispered in Trump's ear. This was about the development about the hostages in the Middle East. But this is what they said before that development happened. This is what they've been working on all along.
Are you going to work with your administration, as the Secretary of State's here, are you going to work with your administration to designate it a foreign terror organization?
You mean a terror?
Antifa? A foreign terror organization.
Well, has that been done? Pretty close, right? Would you like to see it done?
Yes, Mr. President.
Do you think it would help?
They have foreign links
I'd be glad
all
to
across
do it.
Western
I think it's
Europe.
the kind of thing I'd like to do. If you'd like, does
Middle
everybody
East.
agree? If you agree, I agree. Let's get it done.
Trump in the meeting. Has that been done? If it's okay with you, we'll cut them off like dogs. I don't know, but that happened. But that was last month. So I got to tell you, a lot of you, I have a lot of friends, and a lot of you guys like this always chirp at me saying, I don't think this administration's getting things done. Well, let me tell you something. That was just a month ago, okay, where they talked about cutting off the funding of Antifa as an international terror organization. They're getting it done. Here's a more specific reasoning from the Oval Office itself.
They're paid people. This is organized. They're committing acts of political terrorism on American soil. And it's time we had a government that looked out for the American people rather than the people who are committing violence against the American people.
When you go out to Portland and you see what's happening in Portland, this is like nobody's ever seen anything like it. Every night, and this has gone on for years. They just burn the place down, and the shop owners, most of them have left, but the few shops that are open, they just use plywood and just like 3/4 inch plywood. They don't put storefronts because they know it's going to be burned down. These are professional agitators.
That's right.
These are bad people, and they're paid a lot of money by rich people, some of whom we know. I'm sure I know some. I don't. If I knew, I wouldn't associate because I'll be in trouble because Pam will say, "Why are you associating with this person?" But
All right, who's he talking about right there? You've heard the name, Soros Foundation, and they funnel money to them, and they, how could that be, Bill? And if you're not familiar with like those cities and you haven't lived in the Blue City or follow it that closely, or you weren't aware whatsoever because of the news blackout at the time of the summer of 2020 BLM riots, which happened, $2 billion in property damage, like to the shops Trump was talking about there, it happened. Entire pallets of bricks set up on street corners ahead of the riot, equipment, body shields, all set up, all provided, all funded for the terrorists, communication devices, body armor, weapons. The news told you that didn't happen. All these politicians. What are the politicians now? And there have been a lot of them that have gone out of the way to tell you Antifa doesn't. That's an imaginary thing that doesn't exist. No, it's a terror organization. And you'll even hear, I guess no fault of their own because of the lack of news coverage of this, you'll even hear normal people say, it's not true. It's called, the organization stands for anti-fascist. Don't you know that? Yeah, we know that. Why do you think they use that name? To fool people like you. That's why they use that name. So it's a bad day for those scumbags. Sorry, you cut off their funding and they go away. They scatter away to whatever else they do. I don't know, but what do they do now? What if they actually bring to justice some of the billionaires that have been funding this, some of the leftist Marxist billionaires that have been funding this, or other governments? What do they do now? What happens now domestically to these politicians and media members over here that have denied their existence? What happens? This is going to be great. So again, promises made, promises kept. I don't know. If you don't think this administration gets things done, that's another one. It was just a month ago they brought the idea to him to designate them as an international terrorist organization, and now they are. So there you go. I don't know. We'll see. All right. Got a new favorite story of 2025. Let's get to it. This is why you're watching today, because of the tease I put on this. I know it. I've been waiting too. You got to save the best for last. As it turns out, there's a new documentary coming out internationally, and it's called Hitler's DNA, the making of a dictator, or I don't know what the hell it is. But anyway, here's a little piece of the documentary that's coming out and what they're describing.
What if one of history's most infamous men, Adolf Hitler, carried a secret written in his very DNA? In 1945, Allied troops picked through the ruins of Hitler's bunker, where one soldier pocketed a strange souvenir, a blood-stained piece of cloth off the dictator's sofa.
And now through the miracle of modern science, what did that DNA that they have, what did it reveal? Well, it revealed that maybe the most evil man of all time, you ready for this? had a little tiny penis. Let's go to the story and get some facts. I told you this is my favorite story of the year so far. Hitler, according to the DNA studies, and this will be posted by the Cleveland Clinic and confirmed by them as well, likely suffered from a rare genetic condition called Kallmann syndrome. What's that? Well, researchers and documentary makers said, following the DNA testing, the syndrome can, quote, disrupt the process that drives puberty and manifest in symptoms that include undescended testicles and a micropenis. And I'm sorry if you know somebody that goes through this. It's a very serious thing. I just think it's hilarious that this asshole had a little tiny wee-wee. Anyway, the research also quashes the suggestion that Hitler had Jewish ancestry, apparently. It's interesting enough. No one's ever really been able to explain why Hitler was so uncomfortable around women throughout his life, says the documentary, or why he probably never entered into intimate relationships with women. This would explain a lot, would it not? I mean, we used to use that term all the time about, when you find like an angry little guy that's trying to overcompensate. It was Napoleon syndrome. Remember that? I think we got to change that. Maybe it should be like that guy. See that angry little guy over there? He's got Hitler tiny penis syndrome. I can't wait till this documentary comes up. It would explain a lot. That's all I'm saying. All right. I told you that's a great story. Anyway, I got to get out of here. I'm out of material because I don't think I can top that. I got to be honest with you. And also, it's Friday. You have to get into your weekend. Thanks for following me. As always, I appreciate your likes and follows and shares and all that stuff. I'm going to read that story again because I love it. Also, on the audio podcast only, it is you just have to subscribe. On Spotify, it's a little different. Just press like on there. And otherwise, the entire podcast is available everywhere. Make it a wicked awesome Friday for yourselves. Would you have a great weekend? I'll talk to you later.